Now, it's been well over 2 years ever since Gina Carano was fired by Lucasfilm, and specifically by Kathleen Kennedy in the most improper, unprofessional way possible. And since then, we've had a lot of fans remain divided over that major decision by Kathleen Kennedy, and it's only caused a lot of conflict and trouble, not just behind the scenes, but also, of course, between different portions of the Star Wars fandom. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support, and let's jump right into this. Now, we know that everything that has been happening behind closed doors for Kennedy's projects out there like Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte have really not been going smoothly. In fact, there's been a lot of trouble with those projects related to toxic working environments, as well as delays and setbacks and all these different things happening with rewrites and reshoots. So that's why you really haven't been hearing all that much about the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, so to speak, and why Skeleton Crew's release date has been very much, hush-hush by Kathleen Kennedy. Now, moving into what's been going on with Gina Carano and her return, and the whole rehiring plan by Disney executives is actually very reassuring, very exciting about what's going on over at Disney and Lucasfilm. Now, specifically, of course, on top of all of this, we know one thing and one thing only, is that Disney wants to make sure that they can create a turnaround for Star Wars. Now, with Disney and Lucasfilm preparing to announce several Star Wars projects at this year's D23 event. However, it's noted that right now, Disney executives are all coming to an agreement on something substantial for the Star Wars franchise, and it all has to do with the return of Gina Carano as Cara Dune. Now, the rehiring plan is still underway and is moving along in a very significant matter that will be even better for Cara Dune's return to the Star Wars brand. Recently, John and Dave closed a deal with Disney executives that they are all in agreement to rehire Gina Carano to become a part of the Dave Filoni-centered Star Wars film. Since Kathleen Kennedy currently has no involvement in this, even in the early development phase, Filoni convinced Disney to make Gina's return happen. Other executives that are loyal to Kathleen Kennedy, however, are calling for this to not happen. Though the plan is now finally moving ahead, at least for the movie, the talks of her coming back for the shows are still in the works. So before I get to the next big thing here, is that one great thing about this is that this is all planned for Dave Filoni's movie. They are totally on board with rehiring Gina Carano. It is moving along. It is happening. And the thing about this that some fans may come to really dislike is that Dave Filoni's movie is very far away from even coming out into theaters. Let's be clear that Disney is aiming for a holiday 2026 release date, and that most likely is going to be shifted until 2027 now due to the writer's strike. Alright? And it's interesting to say the least, because when you look at stuff around the lines of what's going on with Star Wars right now, is that you have both sides. You have Bob Iger, who wants to put a Star Wars movie out on an annual basis. Then you have Kathleen Kennedy, who is, really pushing for James Bond-defying Star Wars. And what I mean by that is, she wants to eventize Star Wars. She wants to release a movie every 2 to 3 years, just like George Lucas did with the prequel trilogy movies. And look, I don't know why she calls that, James Bond-defying Star Wars, because it's what Lucas did all along. It's like she really goes out of her way to not even reference what George Lucas did. And it's just more and more apparent that she does have this deep grudge with Lucas himself. This is why Lucas, by the way, did not appear at the world premiere of Episode 9. That's a fact. There is a problem between these two, and these two individuals specifically. So, moving on to the next thing here that I think is even all the more reassuring is that the majority of the executives over at Disney, and this also includes the board, is that they want Gina back regardless. And it may not come across as genuine, but this is a marketing move. Let's be real and honest about this. They are interested in merchandising, they are interested in marketing, they are strictly interested in convincing the fans to come back. Now, obviously, everything being done by Disney, it's always a business move. It's never something out of pure, being generous toward the fandom or anything like that. They're not that kind of company. I mean, let's be real here. When you look at people like, for example, like Illumination, those are the types of companies that are very generous toward the fandom. They are true and real to the fans. That's why the Super Mario Bros. Movie has been performing so very well out there, and others, other movies out there like Sonic and stuff around those lines. So, it's interesting though. It is, an effort on their part. I will give them that. But moving to the next thing here is that the movie deal is set to be finalized by this August completely, and it will be up to Gina to decide if she wants to return or not. The deal is, if Gina does not become a part of the movie, Disney is focused on recasting Cara Dune completely, and they know that this may cause some fans to become standoffish with that, so that's a discussion that's constantly evolving as the weeks go by. Now, John and Dave are planning to hold another meeting with Disney by this July to discuss more plans related to Gina's return in the revised version of Rangers of the New Republic that is now coming back with a brand new title, and also plan to heavily feature Cara Dune with or without Gina Carano. Kennedy, at no surprise, is also trying to put a stop to all of this to prevent Gina from coming back into the Mandoverse and of its surrounding projects, as Kennedy reportedly has personal issues with Gina Carano that may never be known to the public. Again, it is interesting that Kennedy does have personal problems with Gina Carano, and it does make you wonder, what are these issues? What's really going on between the two? Gina did tease this in multiple interviews that she would rather remain silent on that and not really talk about that. And so it really makes you wonder and question to yourself, what are those personal problems? It's probably very similar to the whole George and Kathy situation, where there are personal problems going on, but we just don't know anything about that. And it's why George did not appear at the world premiere of episode 9. Now, of course, a big factor was that Kennedy just deleted all of the scenes that Lucas helped out with JJ and Chris Terrio for, but it definitely goes beyond that. So this is very interesting to say the least. I gotta admit that everything related to these Mandoverse projects, everything related to Gina's return into Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie, now strictly moving ahead big time, is a great deal. And the fact that they are on board with this, it is forming and happening. And I gotta say, this is probably their way in to really promote this movie as something quite amazing. So overall, I would really like to hear what everyone has to say about the executives, proposal on this, and how some of the executives are trying to sabotage this. Not a surprise there as well, by the way. And what are your views on Kathleen Kennedy having personal issues with Gina Carano? What do you guys have to say about all of that? And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again. No.